Hello, guys, and welcome back to Cloud Engineering Projects. So, in today's episode of Cloud Engineering Projects, we will be talking about this architecture that I have created to explain the type of projects that you can build, right, as a cloud engineer. So, a lot of people have reached out to me to ask about the type of project that they can build, right? So I have quickly just created this simple but involving project that mimic logistics organization, right? So this architecture in front of you mimics a logistics organization, and I will be explaining to you and how you can also develop your own architecture, right? To learn and get your hands dirty building projects as an up and coming cloud engineer. So before I uh, explain excuse me, before I explain this project in front of you, I'll quickly just let me do Control A, move this project to this side. Then I'll bring up my pencil again and say that, yeah, so this project here, as I said, mimics a logistics organization, right? So you would agree with me that quite a lot of logistics organizations have their infrastructure on-prem. So what that means is that a typical logistics organization would have their database on-prem. They will have their storage on-prem. They will have their uh, authentication, everything, how they authenticate into their systems on-prem. They would have they will have to also implement their own security on-prem. So all of these things, right? They will have to also connect everything together, right? So, quite a lot of logistics organizations are still doing things very crude, right? Even in 2025. So, as a cloud engineer, that you are trying to get, you're trying to break into the world of cloud engineer. So, this is an example of a project that you can build, and that is what I have created a rough project around this scenario to explain and show you also how you can create your own project. Okay, so having understood the problem that we are facing or that logistics organizations are facing, right, or the present architecture of logistics organization, you can then imagine, you can start thinking of how you can help solve this problem by creating this same concept, this same scenario, this same architecture in the cloud. Okay, so I will just let me just press Control Z Z Z. Yeah. So I'll be explaining each of these resources here before I now tell you how they are all grouped together. So now we know that we are working with an on-prem logistics architecture. Yeah, a typical on-prem or a typical logistics architecture will have a user, right, or users issuing traffic, right, from the internet into the systems application. Say, let's say DHL, for example, right? Obviously, quite a lot of people know DHL, right? So DHL, a user is here that wants to use DHL to send an item from the United Kingdom, right, to maybe Germany, yeah, from the UK to Germany. So this person will have to firstly come to DHL website, right? So because you are sending something, you will also need to log in, right? So you will need to input your username and password. They've created their website and do all of those things, right? So you issue username and password, and then you put the information of the item that you want to send, right? So when you've put all of those things, those data are sent to somewhere, right? So you need to create that storage where those data are being sent, right? Now, there's an important concept here, right? Because let's imagine this DHL, let us imagine that it is only limited to the United Kingdom, that there is no DHL in Germany, right? Of course, I know that there's DHL in Germany, but let's imagine that there's no DHL in Germany, right? Let's call, in fact, let's not call this DHL, let's call it GHL, right? Let's imagine that this GHL is only limited, is a local logistics organization in the UK. Now, this user wants to send an item, right, from the United Kingdom to Germany using this GHL, right? So it means that this user will fill in the data, then this GHL will carry the item from the UK and send it to Germany, right? Obviously, because they have access to, the flight and all of those things, or maybe they want to go through the maybe via road or via water, so they can get the item to Germany. But what they cannot do is that they do not know the address, the final destination of the person. See the person here. This person, they do not know the final destination of uh, this person, the address that this person, maybe they know because this person would have submitted those information, but they don't have the network. They don't have the delivery network to actually get the item to this person. So what that means is that they will have to partner with an external organization that is local to Germany also, right? Let's call this one TWZ, for example. I don't, all these are just random names, so it doesn't mean anything. So TWZ is also a logistics company in Germany that is local to Germany. So there's a partnership between GHZ, GHL, and TWZ, right? So when they get this item to Germany, they will actually hand it over to TWZ. Yeah. So TWZ, because TWZ is local to Germany, they know the network of Germany, they know all of those things, their postcode, their address, and all of those information. They will then give the information that's provided by the sender, right, to TWZ, and TWZ will use that information to get the item to the final destination, to this person here, right, in Germany. So the activities that are going on here means that when TWZ delivers the item to this person, right, they will have to also communicate back to uh, GHL that, hey, we've delivered whatever you've given us, and the person, they can take picture, or they just send a notification that, yeah, we've delivered. So information also needs to flow back to this GHC, right? And when GHC receives an information that, yeah, this person, they've delivered the item, this TWZ, they've delivered the item, they will also communicate that information back to the sender here, right? So all of these things that are going on here is what we want to now physically, or that I have now drawn out the architecture. So this is the user here, or group of users that want to send item, right? So if you look closely, yeah, you will see that we have two separated red lines here. This is one, and then this is again another one. So the one here means, I use this red line to mimic that this is GHZ, right? An infrastructure or a logistics company that's local to the UK, right? And this is TWZ, right? TWZ, a logistics company that is local to Germany. Yeah. It could be anyone, right? It could be TWZ, it could be ABC, it could be DDD, it could be whatever, right? The main thing is that we are creating a separation of systems here, right? Because we do not want any external logistics company to come and have direct access to our main resources here. Okay, so let's go back to this user here. We have a user here, or we have group of users here that are wanting to use our services, right? So we have to firstly create our own architecture before anybody can use it, right? So we are starting our architecture from the standpoint of security. So anybody that wants to have access to our website, obviously we would have created a website, right? And then we'll host that website in the cloud. So there's a service that will allow us to host that website. And that service, one of them basically is app service, Azure App Service, right? So we're using Azure App Service to host our website, right? This is the Azure App Service here. So inside of this Azure App Service, we would have hosted our website here, okay? Now, we are starting everything, just as I mentioned, from the standpoint of security, okay? So before anybody can even access this website at all, they will need to either log in. If they already have an account, they will log in. If they don't, they will need to create an account, right? So we are using Azure Entra ID as the gatekeeper here to ensure that everyone logs in, right, into the system before they can even have access to this to this website here, before they can send any item, right? So all of these resources here, we are putting them in a virtual network, right? And inside the virtual network, I have created a public, a subnet here. Just imagine, just ignore this public. Let's say I've just created a subnet here inside of this virtual network, okay? Now, inside of this subnet, right, I am now creating all these resources here. This is the SQL database. Obviously, when someone submits a data on our website, right, say the traffic is firstly coming from here, the person logs in here, right? Then the traffic will firstly hit a load balancer, right? And the load balancer will come in and hit this Azure App Service. So it is here inside of this Azure App Service that you will do uh, the booking of the item that you want to send and all of those things, where you input your own address, your own name, the destination address, and all of those things. So when you include those things, then those data will go into a SQL server, or SQL database, basically. Let me call it SQL database, which is being piloted by SQL Server here, right? So you will go into this SQL database. Okay. If you also want to take a picture, you take a picture of the item that you are sending and you upload it on this website here, right? Then that picture will go to a storage account. Okay. Now, when this item is now, when the items, say the data rather, they are now available in the storage accounts. Now, the GHZ will now take, obviously, you will give them the item physically, right? Or maybe they come to your house and collect the item that you want to send. When they have the item, then data can flow from here. They can start providing update of the item that you are sending on this website here, right? So they will be providing update of the item in transit, right? So when they are providing those updates, then yeah, you know that your item is basically on the road going to wherever you're sending it. Now, let's now imagine that this GHZ, they've now gotten to Germany, right? Then the item is now ready to be transported to the final destination. Now, how would these people, these what is their name called, TWZ, how would they have access to this data? Obviously, they will give the data, the item you are sending, they will give it to them physically. Let's say you are sending a laptop, for example. They will give it to them physically, But how would they have access to those data that you have submitted, your name, the address, and all of those things? That is where they will now need their own system, right? Their own network to they will need their own network to come, right, to come and have access to those data. Now, you do not want anybody to come and have access to your data directly inside your database here, or inside your storage accounts here, right? So what you would do is you create this demilitarized zone, right, where you push data from your main resources, from your production resources, into this demilitarized zone, so that when TWZ, right, which is a partner organization, wants to have access to those data, they will only come to this demilitarized zone. This is where they have access to the data. They cannot have access to those data here. So if you want to pass string data, maybe names, address, all of those things, then those data we have to move from here, right, and then come here and become available here. Okay, if you are providing image picture of the item that they are sending, that this user here is sending, then those data will also travel from here, from from this storage account, and come to this storage account, right? So look at here, I marked this area as future systems, right? It could be external systems, it could be future systems, it could be anything. When they now want to have access to those data, when they come in here also, they will firstly get hit by this login here, right? Which they will need a service principal or something. They will just need an ID, right, to have access to this demilitarized zone here. So when their own traffic is also coming, it hits this guy here, and then when it is successfully logged in, they will also hit a load balancer. So when they hit a load balancer, if they require string data, then that is going to come from this database here, from the database in the demilitarized zone. And if they need image data, that will come from these storage accounts here, right? So this is a rough architecture of how you can create resources to solve real life problem. Okay, so when you have all of these things, then you can now use your Terraform. When you've created all of these things, you've drawn them out, architecture, you've drawn out the architecture, then you can use your Terraform, right, to start deploying. You write the code to start deploying each of these resources, right? So when you deploy each of these resources, then you configure them. Okay, now this is where Terraform now comes in. Obviously, you are not going to be doing anything with this architectural workflow without the interpretation of it into Terraform, right? So when you've built all of these things, then you also need to pay attention to this guy here, okay, which is the Azure function. Now, you use Terraform to deploy your Azure function, okay? Now, this Azure function is what will do the data copying, okay? So it will be the one that will copy data from this main subnet, right, and put it in the demilitarized zone subnet, into the resources in the demilitarized zone subnet, right? And if you want to copy data out, because when these external systems, when they've delivered item to the final destination, they also need to communicate information back. So when they have those information, they will also put it in this demilitarized zone, right? Because they cannot have access to the systems here. When they put the items in this demilitarized zone, then if you want to take item out, then you come here. This Azure function here will take item, right? It will copy the item from this SQL database and put it in the SQL database here inside the main architecture, right? So The same thing happens to the storage account if they also take a picture of the final delivery and then they upload the final delivery here. Then this as a function here will come here, copy the data and send it here. So when your own system, your own main application now, you now have access to those data, then that is the only time that you'll be able to update your customer, right, which is the sender of the item in the first place, right? You then be able to update the customer that, okay, yeah, I have delivered your own item, right? So things like this is what you can imagine, right? What you can bring together to create projects for yourself as somebody that is trying to learn the cloud. Okay, so this is what I have got to share with you all today. If you find this very useful, please click on the follow button to follow this YouTube channel and give this YouTube video a thumbs up and like and comment down anything that you think of this video. I will also be in the comment section. And if you have any question, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer all questions. Thank you very much.